This is not a test. Don't expect to be impressed. Put on your life vest. Sit down your armrest. It's time to stray from the grind. Don't take my hand, 'cause you'll find no peace of mind. Side quest.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Authors and Dragons Side Quest, the every other week non-game where we do something different than we do during the game. Sometimes we talk to somebody cool, sometimes we complain about something going on in the world, and sometimes we take an idea that we did last time that we had a lot of fun with, and we just decide to do it again and slap a part 2 on it.
Oh, yeah.
Gee, I wonder what this one is going to be. Anyway, my name is Rick Gualtieri, and I'm joined by Misty Massey and M.K. Gibson. Say hi, guys.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? When we were
Hey.
counting in, because like for the fans at home, we always do a count in because we've got our personal recorders. So we do a 3, 2, 1, go. And like, all right, we're personal recorders and Rick's going to lead us in. He stood there and his eyes went up and to the right and thought as like 3. And like, it's like you had this moment where you paused. Like,
I do
like,
I do the count in so many times, and for the life of me today, I couldn't remember if I counted down or counted up. I was like,
It's
do I
like,
start
what
with 1
number
or
do I
3?
and I'm doing my best. And like, I'm covering my mouth to not laugh during your introduction because I'm like, it's just 3. But I've been there, brother. I've been there.
Yeah, I've been having it's been a brain fart day. I spent a half an hour trying to write a message to another author who was asking me questions about ads because I couldn't remember the word relevance. And I'm trying to think, what is a synonym
Cinnamon.
a synonym to this word I can't remember, and it was just like,
Dude, that happens to me all the time when I don't know about the rest of you, but I'll be sitting there writing and like I just this blank appears and it's a word that I've known 1,000 times and I literally have to go to Google word that means something like, did you mean this, you idiot? I'm like, yeah, I did mean that. Thanks, Google. Damn it.
And relevance is such a common thing with ads. And I was actually Googling. I was like ad, and I knew it was an R word, R-E, and it was like giving me every word but relevant. I was like, fuck you, Google.
Ad revenue, ad recall,
Yeah.
ad retinue.
I usually yell out to my husband, "What's a word that means this?" And then before he can answer, it pops in my head.
Yes.
So-
Having somebody to bounce things off is the best thing in the world, because usually they literally just exist as a wall for your own sound to come back at you.
I do it all
You're
the
not
time. That's why I talk to the dogs or I'll talk to something in the corner or I'll write to myself because when I'm home during the day, no one else is around. It's just me at the house since I work from home. And so my wife comes home from being a teacher. The last thing she wants to do is talk. But I haven't, with the exception of podcasts and the occasional things, I don't talk to a human all day. So I'm in need of human like chatty chat, and like me talking to myself through the dogs, it started to go a little crazy, so I'm not gonna lie. So
and you heard it here first when Gibby's in court explaining how his dog told him, yes, you must like assassinate like this public figure.
yeah, I do the Son of Sam defense. But Your Honor, I'm just saying.
we want that on a public podcast that now
I'm not gonna
everybody's
kill
heard?
anybody.
I'm not the one who's
We all talk to our dogs. Moving on. What are we doing here
my
today?
dogs, and he just kind of look at me like,
Well, he told me to lick my own butthole, and I said I can't do that. But if you're not gonna go do that,
So anyway, that part 2 I was talking about was we had a great time last time talking about essentially Dungeons and Dragons, am I the asshole scenarios, and we were like, we still have so many more we can do here. Why don't we do kind of a part 2? And also, let's be honest, it gives us a cheap way to like come up with a topic to fill in this week's episode, which I probably shouldn't have said because that's like that's peeking behind the curtain. But oh well.
Here's the thing: like every third damn podcast and YouTube video out there, anything related to gaming related does this exact same thing. But we're bringing our own spin on this way, our own stink. We're putting on it. We're throwing our own stank at it. So who's got the first story? Who wants to lead us off?
All right, I got one.
Okay.
I'm gonna paraphrase this, just to keep it short. But
okay.
So years ago, the DM was playing, or this group is playing, a Middle Earth campaign.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if anybody remembers the old Middle Earth rules, but one of the things with the old Middle Earth rules was that damage could be body specific. So it wasn't just hit points. You could like specifically target an arm, you could target a leg, and you could like render that limb like useless. So it was a mountain adventure. I don't know. It might have been mountain adventure. They didn't say specifically whether it was Khazad-dûm or not, but the party was climbing a mountain. They got into a fight with orcs. One of the characters got his leg broken. And as the party is climbing up the mountain, the one with the broken leg is taking a long time. So most of the party reaches to the top of the mountain. They have a little they decide to have a little sidebar with the DM, and the DM okays it. And then when the remaining character finally climbs to the top of the mountain, the other character's there, and they're like, "We've come to the conclusion that you're holding us back," and they kick him in the face and send him tumbling off. And the DM said this was perfectly fine, and the player was a little miffed. So, I guess the question is there, who's the asshole?
Okay, so when we're doing that, when you're telling that story, like, what did the players say that they did or didn't do to warrant this again? Because I something in the deals I either brain farted up.
Broken leg,
right?
Was basically just slowing down the party's progress.
I just meant beyond that. Did they actually because whenever you're painting a story, like whenever I tell somebody like why someone broke up with me, it's not like, oh, because I stole their money and pissed on the seat, and kicked their cat. It's like, oh no, they. So I'm just curious, did they even volunteer any more information other than just being an invalid?
Okay, so according to this, no, it seemed to be a normal functioning game. Nobody seems to recall anything that the character did. Apparently, they just thought it was funny to kick the guy with the broken leg in the face.
I have gamed with people that would do that before, and we were talking before about being emotionally invested in a character in a game or not, and I tend to be very emotionally invested. So I would have been upset had I been that player and somebody kicked me in the face just because I was slowing everybody down. So yeah, I would go with the kicker, and the DM kind of was the asshole, because really that's not something that's going to lend party coherence,
I don't know. Like, again, on the surface level, sure, the party is the asshole in the story, but I have a feeling that this player's not giving the beans. Were they reciting dirty limericks the entire way? Was everybody else trying to be like, oh, Mr. Frodo? They're trying to get into the very Middle Earthian way of speaking. He's like, man, it's fucking hot up in this bitch. It was, maybe this player was just like, no, I'm Vinny from the West Shire. All right. No, fuck all you little guys. Oh my God. See, like, Jesus, is that a freaking Balrog? Like if it had been that guy, I would have kicked him off the mountain as well. So we don't know. There's not enough information. Surface level tells me the party is, but I don't know. I'm not trusting this guy.
Well, okay, that is fair. I will tell you for a fact that none of that was happening, because this is not from Reddit. This is an actual D&D story from my past, and I was the player who got kicked in the face.
See, so now I know you're full of shit, because I know the Italian in you came out like, oh my freaking God. No, I know you were a New Jersey hobbit. You were way down. No chance. So someone kicked you off a mountain, huh?
Yeah. I'm like, yeah. I'm Bilbo Bag of Donuts.
Bilbo T. Baggins, motherfucker.
So did your character die? Did you have to roll something up?
Yeah, I fell off a mountain.
Well,
and let me tell you, the middle, like, in D&D, it's hard to die. Middle Earth, not so hard.
Quick pause.
Wow.
I see that Steve is trying to join us. Is there something going with the Catholic that allows him in?
No. I think that was that looked like a technical glitch.
Okay. Oh, there he is.
Yep,
there he is.
Yep, 100% a technical glitch.
Fantastic.
Sandcaster is a piece of shit.
Well, we definitely can't use this in the outgoing message. So.
No. We paid them for a license. We can say what the fuck we want.
Yeah. If they didn't want me saying that, their software wouldn't be such a piece of shit.
Oh my god! At some point we will reach a point where this where the AI is smart enough to basically be like, don't let them say nasty things about us. It will just beep you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably it.
We were just talking about a real life experience that I was sharing my pain with, and Gibby was in the process of trotting all over it and telling me that I was indeed the asshole.
I
Don't
find
ask
that
my
really
opinion
hard
if you
to
don't want it.
believe,
My
Rick.
ex-wife. Don't ask me my opinion if you don't want it. Like, no. Like, it sounds to me like you were belly aching up the mountainside. You're trying to oh, my leg. Everybody stop and pay attention. Like, that's like my grandmother. Okay, let me tell you a story about my grandmother, Mr. Rick. My grandma, when she was still alive, bless this woman, but she would do this little putter, and everybody had to stop and pay attention to Nanny for a bit. Okay. But when no one's looking, that bitch could walk really fast. Like when she had her on her oxygen mask, she had to stay at our house for a while. She would say oh, I gotta sit down. And then I hid in the hallway and looked down the hallway. When she didn't see me looking, she took it off, went over and had a cigarette and came back. No.
All I'm hearing, Gibby, is that your grandma needs to be exhumed and her cause of death re-examined, because now it's starting to sound suspicious.
In a defense, Gibby, you can't smoke a cigarette while you're wearing an oxygen mask.
That's true. But she can walk really freaking fast, is what I'm saying. What all I'm getting at is Rick's tale of woe. His paraphrase tale of woe is oh, there was this one guy in this party. He was the fairest and most beautiful of all, and he had a lame leg, and he was trudging up the mountain like Samwise, but all his friends were conspiring against him, wringing their hands, and then they got to the top of the mountain and punted him off like a wheel of cheese in Skyrim. And you know what? Good on them.
Here's the question, Rick, though. How had he gotten his leg broken? Had he gotten his leg broken defending the safety of all of the
They just hit him with a baseball bat
from a battle. As I said, the old Middle Earth system. You could when you rolled for damage, you would then see there was a subtable to roll to see where you got hit, and depending on your limbs had so many hit points and such before they got broken and crap.
I think they just waited till you were asleep and jumped on your knee. That's you have to understand, Rick. The only evidence here I have is of playing D&D with you, and
I will admit that probably does sound like the only thing I can say to that is, when cameras aren't rolling, I have played serious characters before, but since there's no evidence of
unbelievable. That is
unbelievable. We'll just say I've played D&D with Bigfoot.
Unless you're trying to tell me this is the Rick origin story, and this is what drove you over the edge, and you've just been playing assholes ever since, I'd buy that.
What kind of character were you playing?
Moog origin story. He got kicked off the mountain, and when he got to the bottom,
Yeah, he popped up two forms. Silas and Moog came up at the same time. So, okay, what kind of character were you playing in this Middle Earth campaign?
I honestly do not remember.
Oh, now the details get hazy. Okay.
Well, no, the details get hazy because I'm recounting a story from back when I was probably about 15.
Okay.
I can see how that'd be a formative experience.
But
actually,
15-year-olds can be assholes too.
Maybe this is an origin story.
Now, all I'm hearing is New Jersey edgelord got pushed off mountain and the party rejoiced. That's the. No. To be fair, if they legitimately did that to you, that is a dick move. And now the question is, if you were on the other side and you guys got to punt someone else off the mountain, you were part of the cool kid club, would you have laughed?
Oh, 100%.
Okay, so there it stands. All right.
I don't think anyone's arguing it's funny, is it?
Just whoever happens.
Yeah, so somebody's an asshole. That doesn't mean nothing's funny.
Fair.
I don't think the humor was the argument. I think the whether or not he deserved it was the argument. So.
Which is still for debate. If he can't remember,
sometimes death is hilarious. We had a campaign one time where it was kind of a Jack and the Beanstalk thing. So we wound up on top of this this thing with a cloudscape ahead of us. And I was like, all right, I step out into the clouds, and the DM literally just went, ah! He was like, roll up a new character. I was like, are you serious? He's like, it's a cloud, stupid.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't specify it was Super Mario rules.
These are tangible clouds, so yeah.
Well,
all right, who's got the next story? I've got one if no one else is ready. So
I've got one.
Go for it.
Okay. So it's, am I the asshole for dumping 2 gallons of mayonnaise on our cleric?
No.
No. No.
Well, that was
I assume
quick.
this is an alchemy jug story. I guarantee it.
Yes, it is.
because
Oh,
it can make mayonnaise for whatever reason. So
So yeah, okay. So I've paraphrased it down.
go for it.
Okay, so they were in a magic item shop, and the character managed to get his hands on an alchemy jug. The party's cleric was haggling with the shopkeeper to trade her ordinary shield for an amulet of the drunkard. So eventually the shopkeeper lost his patience and said, I'm not going to trade you a magic amulet for some ratty ass shield. And the cleric starts pulling is it because I'm an elf? You're a racist bit. So the character with the alchemy jug dumped the entire contents of his jug on her head.
Okay.
This is an elf. There's no way elves are discriminated against in any fantasy setting.
I know, right? I'm inclined to say no, they were not the asshole, because the asshole was the complaining cleric who was trying to make a bad deal in the first place.
Like,
I'm trying
listen,
to
yeah,
figure out
exactly. Here's my 5 gold shield, and I want this uncommon item that's worth at least 100 to 500. So no, that's not going to happen.
Right?
Sounds like somebody who's very waspy.
I'm trying to figure out what the crime here was. Okay, you got mayonnaise dumped on your head. Sure. What were you in a town where where mayo was reviled and everybody who who made a sandwich the wrong way was put to death? If not, who cares?
Yeah.
I think the crime was that it wasn't really mayonnaise, it was Miracle Whip. And so
that's disgusting.
2 gallons of mayonnaise, and when she steps out the store, just immediately attacked by a herd of cats.
Also, not to mention, or just let it step out in the sun for an hour. Just the stink alone, it's just going to spoil. Yeah. No, I think
there are still worse things to be covered in 2 gallons of.
Oh,
And in any one of our games, it definitely would be one of those things.
I'm very surprised we haven't found an alchemy jug that could produce 2 gallons of, let's just say, not mayonnaise.
Yeah. We do. You have
We
one.
will.
It's called Bevan. He can support many gallons of mayonnaise all the time.
The human alchemy jug.
He is
Klaus
a human
Richter.
alchemy jug. I would say the person in the asshole in that story is the ones who are trying to just the humble shopkeeper trying to run a business, and they're trying to barter, and then they're trying to drop. They're like, oh, it's because I'm an elf. Like they said, well, now, haha, players think they're funny, and so whoever jumping at mayonnaise, you're the hero of the story. Good on you.
Mm.
I agree.
Yeah, there's a tendency, and I do it myself when I'm playing a video game, is you show up in the game world, and basically you just kind of look at everything as, this is mine, I just haven't gotten it yet. And it sounds like they were taking that a little too far with the whole, come on, just take this stupid piece of metal and give me powerful magic for it. And you got mayo dumped on you. Who cares?
Right.
I mean, if anything, if you're going to play the video game rules, then you just sell them the shield for five gold and then steal it back when he's not looking, and just there are ways around this. You're not, that's like me going to the auto store. Here's my electric scooter. Can I have a Porsche? No.
Exactly.
I also think if this had been a scenario where the DM just happened to have 2 gallons of mayonnaise in the real world and dumped it on a player, it's still fine.
Yeah.
But you do have to question why he has 2 gallons of mayonnaise. Sounds like it's specifically for that purpose.
At that point, that's a skill check, because 2 gallons of mayonnaise is what, 30 pounds in a big ass thing. You got to stealthily get behind your player, turn it over, and mayonnaise isn't running. It's going to float.
I don't think it'd have to be stealthy. I think it'd be more like a pro wrestler. I think the guy would be so shocked.
Hold him down.
Yeah,
exactly.
To what was unfolding, you just kind of look on in frozen terror. Because nobody expects 2 gallons of mayonnaise. But
but still, you're right. 30 pounds is still 30 pounds. I mean, what was that scene from Ghostbusters where Peck gets covered in marshmallow goo? Where apparently they dumped shaving cream on the actor, but apparently it was so much shaving cream it actually hurt him.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
100 pounds of shaving cream is 100 pounds. If
it had been real burning marshmallow, that would have been skin graft time.
That's why he came back in the new one and he sucked even more. So
I mean, who knows? Maybe this elf had a 3 constitution, so that 30 pounds of mayonnaise finished him off.
No, they've got an
That's
egg
my
allergy, and
mayonnaise.
it took them down. So
There are worse ways to go. I can't think of one right now, but
all right, I've got a. This is less of an am I an asshole. This is someone complaining, but I've got am I the asshole questions down before. This is a short one, and I want to read this one off because it made me chuckle when I got done with it, because I want to see if you guys pick up on the same thing that I pick up. This is a person complaining about their old DM, and the title is "My old DM was something else." Here's some highlights. I had a DM a while back that made playing D&D more frustrating all the time. Some of the things they did still stuck with me, and I just needed to vent. Here's a quick rundown of what was it like playing underneath this old DM. Number 1, banning the shield spell with my Hexblade. They straight up banned my shield spell on my Hexblade Warlock, because apparently having a 21 AC as a reaction is bullshit. Isn't that what the spell does? But you know what? Fuck me. It was too OP for my Dungeon Master. Number 2, fudging rolls to kill my monk. Once they admitted to fudging rolls to one-shot my monk, claiming that I was high on power and needed to be taken down a notch. Dude, what? Number 3, making fun of my character's name. One of my characters, a lizard folk's name was Barak, and the DM not only mocked me by calling me Obama, but also bullied my character in game because lizard folk are not liked by humans. I was clearly meant to make me feel bad, and it worked. Number 4, constant criticism. Every time I did something, the DM would tell me what I was doing was wrong. And for the last bit, dragging the game out for just one player. We once spent over an hour watching just one player do research, and when I got my phone out to pass the time, the DM gave me shit for not, quote, paying attention. I'm not the only one to complain, but this DM really sucked the fun out of what should have been a great experience. Now, obviously, this DM does sound like an asshole by changing certain things, but there's something I keyed in on during this little tale of woe, and I'm wondering if you picked it up too. I want to hear your opinions before I give my own.
firstly, I like the Obama joke. I thought that was funny. If somebody was playing a lizard man and you spend the entire campaign saying like, "Oh, is this for your global warming agenda?" then
Thanks,
that's hilarious.
Obama. Yeah.
Please carry on doing that all the time. Everything else, it does sound tedious. I mean, I know there's like balancing a game so nobody's just hogging the limelight all the time, and helping slower players. But this does sound like shutting down everything cool and watching somebody do research for an hour.
Yeah, that sounds boring.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not hearing the other side if this person has done anything. I understand nerfing certain spells. Like I have, what's it? Tiny Hut is one of those spells that as a DM I can't stand because players use it as a crutch. But
they hide in it too. They pop out, shoot spells, hop back in, and
exactly. But the whole you needed to be knocked down a peg. This DM doesn't sound like they're fun to play with.
I agree.
Yeah.
But
I agree. I mean, the whole point of a DM is supposed to be making it fun for everybody else. And yes, they're supposed to have fun too, but not at the expense of the players. So
well, that's I can argue that one. But whenever I'm DMing, it is, I believe I'm your biggest cheerleader and your worst enemy. I want to prop you up so I can knock you down because it's what makes it fun. But for this particular tale, here's what I keyed in on. He had this player, he or she, they had a Hexblade Warlock. They had a monk. They had a lizard. That's at least 3 characters they played under this DM. If you have fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, go fuck yourself. At that point, that what's the definition of insanity? You keep doing the same thing, expecting a different outcome. This person's an asshole. Walk away. Get a new DM.
Yeah.
If you know that's how this DM is, like, oh baby, I swear I won't hit you this time. No. It's a toxic relationship. Walk the fuck away. Just walk away.
Fair.
True. Yeah, but that doesn't make him the asshole. It sounds like.
Well, if I keep going back to the person that punishes me.
Well, the idiot,
not for real life.
Or maybe you just don't have any other friends. We don't know.
Right. You might not have other friends. That's true. But I'm not saying in real life, obviously, toxic relationships are a hard thing to get out of, and I understand that. But in this D&D one, you can walk away, unless.
Yeah. Or we could say that, somebody else is going to have to DM. There's no one's having fun watching this guy do research. I can do that in real life and improve myself. I'm not here to improve myself. I'm here to play D&D.
Yeah. And something, it can be done. It can be done fine. The last game I DM'd, I was DMing Tomb of Annihilation. That is a tedious as fuck module in 5e. and it was getting tedious as fuck. I was getting bored with the players were getting bored when finally players were like, can we just go to a different campaign? And at that point, I was like, I'm exhausted. Can somebody please take over DMing? And it kind of want to be in a win-win.
Right.
But
nobody's happy.
Yep, nobody's happy, so
you can just move on.
Everybody wins.
Doesn't sound like this DM in this case is a happy person.
No.
Oh, no.
Well, unless
No.
they're mocking him for the Obama. Like, it sounds like, so the person that
Yeah,
probably
that's
whoever
good.
did the research thing, that's already their buddy. They're giving him all the cool stuff. Like, listen, the shield spell means you have 21 armor class for a shield. Means you have a normal armor class of 16. That's fine. There's nothing wrong. And the shield spell exists for that reason. It's just, but you're going to run out of spell slots.
It takes up a spell slot.
It's a warlock. You got 4 at most.
Yeah. Moog has it in Dicey Bastards, and I think, I could use it 3 times and then I'm pretty much fucked.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't sound too OP to me. It does sound like the DM in this case has just got some issues that he needs to work out. He just seems like an unhappy person. Or maybe the poster here, just not a very likable person. But that still doesn't make him the asshole in this scenario. The DM doesn't like him and then keeps on being a prick to him, and not even in a fun way, despite the Obama joke of what else.
Now, what if they knocked him down a mountaintop? Would it be funny then? Would we be allowed?
Yeah, well, at least that's decisive, isn't it? At least everybody's made their feelings known.
I do understand the concept of like with the monk thing. Sometimes you have a power gamer in the group, and like the DM might not be paying attention, and the person will be like, "Oh, can I use this power?" And yes, or whatever. And then you'll find out later, you're like, "Oh God, that just broke the game." Sometimes that happens. I made the mistake one time, not really paying attention. Somebody's like, "Hey, can we use psionics?" Sure. Totally broke the game.
Yep.
100% my fault. But then I had to start finding monsters that would actually give them a challenge.
Right.
Right.
Once they can start reading thoughts and doing things with their mind, it's like, especially when they added the feats telepathy and telekinetics, just like at level 4, like I could all of a sudden I'm telekinetic. I can move shit with my mind. Like I'm better than Mage Hand. Like, oh no, it just turned on one day, huh? Okay. So some of those are a little harder to run.
Yeah.
Not impossible. It's hard.
As a DM in that case, I mean, if they say like, "Hey, can I do this impossible thing?" I think as a DM, if it's ruining the game, you say, "Oh yeah, all those great powers you have. Turns out you have a massive brain tumor." This is a John Travolta situation.
There's also a situation where it's like, if the monk wants to do a backflip over an enemy just for the flavor of it because they have a +8 to acrobatics, that's, if anything else, it's showing the other players what you can do with your abilities. Yeah. Try some crazy shit. You want to parkour off the wall? Great. Give me a roll, because if you fuck it up, I'm going to beat you while you're down. But let one power gamer teach the other ones, like, it's not a turn-based, I punch you, you punch me. This isn't the Revolutionary War type of firing with firing lines. You're allowed to use a dynamic space. Get creative. Have a little bit of fun. But, just...
But yeah, you're right. Understand there are consequences, and I trust me. I've had players around the table, like, it's like, okay, you fudged the roll, you got a 1, bad things are going to happen. It's like, oh, why do you have to do that? I'm a trained fighter. I don't think that would happen.
Oh, no.
Dude.
Yeah. No.
You don't see.
Yes, you're a trained fighter, but you can still slip in mud. Sorry.
So whenever I had a player do that to me once, and so I just pull up a video of like powerlifting accidents on YouTube and just watch when like they tear their asshole out. Like this is a trained professional, and look what happened. So shut up.
Yeah. I mean, I've been breathing in and out for 42 years, but I still sometimes choke on my own spit.
Yeah. Happens all the time. The wife and I will turn to you like, can't breathe saliva. So yeah.
I always think if you've got to do something cool and it makes sense for what your character is, great. But also if you're doing that all the time, it's just kind of boring. And it does have to make sense. I've already been very clear about what I don't like about just characters who can fucking do anything at any time. I just find it very narratively dull. But yeah, maybe as a DM, just say, okay, you can do that, but here's the payoff for that. Here's the downside of what you're doing.
You're a horrible alcoholic. You've got no family because you spent all your time learning to do backflips.
You can do backflips, but everybody thinks you're annoying.
Yeah, exactly. Listen,
You can do
listen,
backflips, but when you land, you like break down into tears, realizing your parents don't love you anymore.
well, there's a reason Batman's a one pump chump, because he spends all his time training and not enough time actually romancing. So moving on, who's got the next story?
I have a sexual politics story.
Ooh.
Is it D&D related? It doesn't have to be. You've turned me
No,
on with
this is
just the
just-
title. So
I'm having an argument with my girlfriend, and I want you to. No, this is a D&D story. I don't have a girlfriend.
sexual
Okay.
politics.
Yeah. I know this sounds horrible, but hear me out, which is a great way to start, and I approve. They have a group of friends. Basically, I'm going to break this down. He goes on a bit. He's been playing with a group of friends for a long time, and a couple of dudes take turns DMing. And one of his friends always plays a female character, and when he does, he constantly hits on me in the game. I know he does it as a joke, and it usually gets everyone laughing, and I'll laugh about it, and I always have to awkwardly turn him down in character. I'm far from anything even remotely close to homophobic, which seems like a long way of saying you might be homophobic, but let's go. But I just don't have it in me to flirt back with him. Now, here's where I think I might be the asshole. We started a new campaign, and in anticipation of the friend doing the same stuff, I made my character gay. And sure as shit, he makes a female character, as usual, and in the first session starts making awkward advances towards the poster that I politely respond with, "Sorry, I'm not interested. There's nothing against you. I'm just not into women." And apparently, the gay guy did not like this. It says you cannot just say that your character is randomly gay on the spot. But in fairness, the poster did actually make the character gay. It was in his backstory and checked out with a DM. And the gay friend got irate, started calling him homophobic, and saying that you can't roleplay a gay character. And how he's just doing it just to spite him, which is a bit true, I think, maybe.
Yeah. That is fair.
Also,
Straight
that he
up,
was
yeah.
a bigot. Now the rest of this is him being he seems quite hand-wringing about it, that he might actually be, he might be construed as a gibbet. He phoned him afterwards, but the gay friend was still annoyed with him, thinks he's a homophobe, and he feels awful about the whole thing. But what do you think? Who do you think the asshole is in this scenario?
The guy who keeps hitting on him.
Yeah, it's like
No, yeah.
you're playing a one-trick pony there, because it makes the other guy feel uncomfortable. So when the tables are turned and you don't like it, well,
My personal feeling is like, if you're gonna hit on somebody to make them feel uncomfortable for comedy, I think that's okay. But I think that to an extent, obviously if it's getting, you can usually tell when it's getting properly uncomfortable.
Yes.
It doesn't sound like the guy was overly uncomfortable with it. He knew it was being played for laughs. But if they turn around and say, "Actually, I made a gay character. You can't do that to me anymore." Fair enough. Sounds pretty funny. I know there are some arguments in fiction that straight dudes can't write gay dudes, men can't write women, white guys can't write black guys. I know there's a complicated discussion around that. My personal feelings is, if I don't know who the writer is, I don't give a shit. But in this case, I don't know. I don't think he's appropriating here, is he?
Something. If the gay character, the guy's name was if he was obviously going overboard and mocking, be like, oh, my character is Gaiman Gaylord, and he comes out wearing a boa and being fabulous, that'd be one thing where I'd be like,
Came out doing jazz
going
hands,
overboard.
yeah.
But it basically sounds like he basically just said, I'm not interested because I swing the other way, just to stop you from being annoying this way. Yeah, that 100%, like I said, feels like somebody who can dish it up but can't take it.
So the first friend, the one that kept making females, did I miss there? Did they say the orientation of the actual human being who was making the female characters?
Yeah, he's a gay man.
So he's a gay man playing a woman to hit on his friend.
Straight woman.
Playing a straight female, to hit on his straight friend.
Well, okay, so that one, definitely intentionally doing it to cause tension between, like, just to be funny to hit on them. Yeah, it's a sticky wicket, like that's a douche. It's a prick move to do that, especially if you know this makes your friend uncomfortable. He says, like, they can keep saying I'm not homophobic, but maybe they are, maybe they're not. But like, it is your friend, like I've got gay friends I play D&D with, and they hit on me, and sometimes I hit on them back, and I make them uncomfortable. I make it weird.
I think I'd like to say I think you probably can be uncomfortable with a man hitting on you and not be homophobic, just like you can be uncomfortable with a woman.
Well, yeah, I've had people like
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and again, if this was a one-time thing and they're losing their minds over it, that's one thing. But it sounds like this is a chronic. Every time I make a character, I do the same thing, which that makes it weird.
Yeah,
Right.
but nobody's really shut them down for it. It's a funny thing they do. They all laugh. Fair enough. And he was like, sorry, guy, I'm gay. It sounds more like he was annoyed that he didn't get to carry on doing his shtick specifically to this guy.
He was.
But,
And sorry if yes, okay, when you found a joke, you want to repeat it because you like the attention of people laughing. I get that. Everybody gets that. But after you've done it 47
this
times.
entire podcast.
Yeah. Well, when you've done it 47 times and you know the person that you're targeting is about to stab you with a pencil, it's time to give it up. And and fortunately his friend found a less bloody way of making him give it up than the stabbing with the pencil.
Give it up is right. Well, you keep saying the same thing over and over. Those of us, anybody out there with kids, young kids in their life, or your own children, knows that when they reach a certain age, they get into catchphrase mode. They find one or two things. Someone laughed once or twice, so they will keep beating that horse dead. And I took my son, like, he kept saying the same, like, son, please stop. It's not funny anymore. It's like, but kids laugh. I'm like, but I'm not a kid. Did I do that? Where's the beef? I lived through the era of catchphrases, and I don't. It's the lowest form of comedy. So please, God, stop.
Some of us are over 50 years old, and we have never gotten out of that. We have never grown out of that.
But
literally every time I let my dogs out at night, I'm doing the Conan shtick, like, go, you're free.
Yeah, you're doing it to your dogs. Are you saying, hey, wife, look, am I funny? Look at me. Did you see me say it? I said the Conan line again. Did you see me say it? If you're doing that, then you got a problem.
She's in the room. I will look at her to see if I get a reaction.
Oh, sure. Well, that's the spousal torture. Totally off the table. I'm just saying, constantly spouting this, doing the same shtick. Yes.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, it's even funny to me when you know it's not funny and it's the 1,000th time you said it and she wants to kill you. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. As I said, I am single. But yeah, and I've also got to say, like, okay, you can play a gay character. Anyone could be Mike, the normal gay guy. That just sounds boring, really. If I was going to play a gay character, I'd want to go full Liberace. Yeah. Why not?
But also, here's the thing: D&D is role playing. I mean, if you're going to say, "Oh, you can't play a gay character," you might as well just say, "Well, you're not an orc in real life. You can't play an orc."
Right?
And again,
you can't play a gay character.
As long as the person wasn't doing it like purposefully, like I said, outlandish to the point of being like an insulting stereotype.
Are you mocking your gay
like
friend by doing this? Yeah. Are you just playing them?
Yeah. Well, we all know there is a line. It's like, I played Brandon Firemaster, who I assume would be like a typical Shaw Brothers monk, therefore Asian. I didn't start doing like a Chinese accent.
No,
that would have been crossing the line. But yeah, I don't think, again, if I was just kind of like, hi, I'm Mike, I don't like chicks, I think that's probably fine,
Just William the cocksucking barbarian. Like, I like two things: killing and dick. Now that being said, that's fucking funny. Like, I'll kick your ass, then I'll fuck it. So. New from Dungeons and Dragons, William the cocksucking barbarian, coming this fall.
I'm here for two reasons.
What's your character motivation? It's like it's right there in the title.
Just got a collection of testicles around the necklace, kind of thing.
Oh my!
All right, Rick, what do you got?
All right. So this is not an in-character thing. This is more of a case of...
No, is this a real one or another someone hurt you a long time ago story?
You know something? In my stories are peppered with real D&D things. So I figure why not? Because we've if you've played for any amount of time, you've encountered weird things at the table.
Sure.
In this case, we had started a new game with a new DM. We knew it wasn't like they were new, but they were new to the role, and they brought in a friend to the game, and within a couple weeks, all of us kind of hated this friend. Because basically they were disruptive at that table. They weren't really good with role playing.
And his name was Rick.
Fuck you. Got it. Yeah, fuck us, guys.
But eventually the party was just like we weren't having a good time. It didn't help that it was a very, very straight-laced game where everybody was playing actual heroic, non asshole characters. So it was a little dry to begin with. I was playing like an elven lawful good ranger, and that was the last time I played an elven lawful good ranger. Let me just tell you that. Boring as fuck.
That sounds so tasteless.
But eventually we were like, okay, we approached the DM because this was their friend, and we were like, can you have a word with them? Because they're kind of bringing down we're kind of dreading showing up for the game because they're here, and like we didn't want to kick. I don't think we wanted them to be kicked out. We just wanted a word with them, but the DM took it personally. Told the friend basically everybody hates you here. The friend left, and then the DM was like was all pissy at the rest of us. And it was just one of those cases where there was that guy around the table that that was just bringing down the game and was causing people to not have fun. So it was kind of like, were we the assholes for asking the DM to have a word with this person, or were they because then rather than just saying, hey, can you tone it down a bit, they basically said, they pretty much just said, yeah, everybody at the table can't stand you.
Well, first of all, Rick, a lawful good elven ranger sounds like a chicken dinner with no gravy. I don't know why that makes sense to me, but that's the first thing that came to mind. Yeah, it sounds like... I mean, I suppose it's up to the DM to manage the social aspects of it in the context of the game as well as the game aspects of it. I suppose that it becomes this weird sort of dual role when you get to that in this particular social activity, which can't be easy, I guess, in some cases. Was this a case of the DM was friends with the guy and no one else was?
Yes.
Yes, and that's difficult too. And that is difficult outside of DM. I've got friends that just don't mix well with other friends, and it's a shame. Yeah. You'd think that their mutual love of me would bring them together, but no. Pricks.
How can that not be?
Yeah, I asked myself the same question.
Because there's not enough Steve to go around.
Yeah. Can't you all just love me equally, you idiots? You idiot peons? No.
Well, it's your church friend and your porn friends. You're like, they're not necessarily, maybe they'll overlap, maybe they won't. Yeah. So,
No, they definitely do. But it depends what church you belong to. Yeah, so it is a difficult thing, but it sounds like you just went, fine, none of these guys like you, fuck you. That's,
yeah, pretty much.
Sound very diplomatically handled.
We, years ago, we had a situation where one of the players wanted to bring a friend over to join our group, and we said, yeah, sure, no problem, more the merrier, blah, blah, blah. And he showed up with this guy, and I have never smelled a human that smelled that bad before or since. It was so bad that we had to open up. Yeah, it was like February, so it was really cold, and we still had all the windows and doors open because nobody could breathe. It was that bad. I don't know how this man had this kind of smell, but it was a nightmare. And so we went to the player and said, look, he can't come back because my house still has that smell in it a day after. He can't come back. And the friend, of course, didn't want to tell him. And he said, well, why don't you tell him? I said, he's not my friend. He's your friend. You tell him.
Someone's got to tell him. That's the merciful thing to do.
Well, instead, my friend just he quit the game, and he told his friend that he just wasn't playing with us anymore, and so neither of them came back. Which
Just wait till he turns up next time and go, hey there, Bob of Eternal Stench. How's it going?
Yeah, that's one of those things where you find a way to to throw in, be like, aren't you glad you used dial? And you stare at the guy. Don't you wish everybody did?
It's like, does anybody else either like to shower before we get into some combat? Let's all shower. You can make it educational
Hey,
and
guys,
sexy.
rather than pizza, I got deodorant.
I got a pizza box filled entirely with decorative soaps, Bob.
At that point, you just need the kid. If you have a kid in the house who's just honest and 12, like, you smell bad, mister, and walk away. You need someone to be that the emperor.
Yeah, then you do the fake, how dare you, as you slip them a 5,
Exactly,
Right.
But we're just being very honest. When I was in the military up in Alaska, I'm not going to name names, but there was this some of the people would be sitting there working at their racks doing their job, and there was this one girl who she was what everybody called a naturalist, and she only liked to bathe in natural streams and things like that, and she didn't believe in deodorant. She didn't I guess from your reaction to Steve's face, it's just as bad as you think. And everybody that had to sit next to her. Now, fortunately, my job, I didn't have to sit next to this girl on rack, but every time you had to walk by, you're like, there's a funk cloud. There's a 7-meter funk cloud that you're going to walk through, and people. Eventually, one of these old master sergeants walk by like, "Girl, you stink. You need to go take a shower." Go. No, I'm serious, because it's and they actually had to break out the Air Force guides of you have to be clean. Your uniform has to be clean, dry, and serviceable. And you have to have a cleanly appearance, and that blah 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 blah. Long story short, this person they was like, but it's my belief system. I only like to bathe in natural, because she lived near a stream, but it's also, we lived in Alaska. So in wintertime, you're not going to go jump in that stream. So she just didn't bathe. And I'm not saying everybody needs, not everybody, you don't need to shower every day. COVID taught us that, but you have to have an awareness of your funk, and it's just,
yeah, there have been days I've gone out, done yard work, and then run out to Home Depot immediately afterward. But I'm well aware at that point that if people are walking past me, they're probably going, God damn, there's that self-awareness.
But the problem was the person responsible for letting him know wouldn't take responsibility. And I think the DM in your story had the same issue. He wouldn't take responsibility, so he was a jerk about it.
Yeah.
Instead of just being responsible and grown up. But
sometimes it's easier to be a jerk.
This is true.
Most times, in fact.
Missy, do you have another story for us?
Sure. Let's see. Okay, am I the asshole for making my players wear hats? I'm terrible at remembering to make my players make concentration checks, just the worst. So for my New Year's Eve game coming up, I've had the brilliant idea of making players with active concentration on spells wear giant hats in real life so I can remember.
Sounds delightful.
I don't need to know if this is a bad idea. I'm already convinced of its genius.
I'm stealing this.
Just for concentration, or not every single thing? It's okay, you're unconscious. Put on your unconscious hat, please.
I'd be okay with it, because I have a million hats in my house, and I could be
put on your feeble mind beanie. God,
but he also says enormous hats, doesn't he? Yeah, giant hats. So
big
I'm like, what's
novelty beer
hat?
koozie hats,
right?
the big Wisconsin cheddar, the cheese hats from the point is that's actually kind of genius, because it's that way who's concentrating on a spell. All right, cool.
You could do the druids. Every time they wild shape, they've got to put on a certain animal hat.
Yeah,
going around with that horse mask on. You can take it off when you stop wild shaping. That's fair.
But who buys the hats? Who has to pay for the hat?
I have a feeling that someone like you just has a hat collection, no offense, and that they're just oh, by the way, I have a hat, blah, 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 so.
Just you put out the rules before the game. Everybody's reading it there's a mandatory showers and $200 hat tax.
My wife goes days. I'd be like, I need 6 concentration hats. I need 6 feeble mind hats.
Oh yes.
$50 for a rage hat. Come on.
No, I had my buddy who's a DM. Like, he's got his basement set up to play Dungeons and Dragons, and it's set up with it's set up to he can click any button to get the music going for whatever the scene happens to be. He's got black lights above because he passes out tokens, and some people are they're luck tokens. So someone's they turns the lights on, and whoever's got the one glowing token, that's the unlucky one. He's got all these cool tricks, bells, and whistles he loves to turn it because it's his dungeon basement. It exists for that function. So he has for people he thinks are cheating, he's got giant foam dice that he makes them roll on the table. That way you're not going to fudge your roll, So yeah.
Trustworthy dice.
Hey, I was told there would be no fact checking in this game. So.
Well, especially when his nephew plays and the nephew's never rolled below a 19 in his life, you're that's impossible.
There are only two types of people who put that much work into their basement, and the other people tend to wind up on true crime documentaries. So.
Well, it's you ever seen what's his name? The guy who I don't know if he still is or was married to Sophia Vergara, Joe Manganiello. He's got his Gygax basement. Damn, that is because he loves D&D, and that thing is a dope Dungeons and Dragons basement. So good for him.
Yes, I'm so jealous.
All right.
So we're all agreed that this man is not the asshole for useful hats.
Is it a man? I think it's I think this is a Misty Rick insert situation, isn't it?
No, I don't think you finished the story, Misty. Were his players upset about this, or?
No, that was all he wrote. That was it.
Because you're not an asshole, you're a visionary.
Yeah.
This guy just wanted to go on the internet and tell everybody about his really cool hat idea, and this was the format he chose.
The only time I would get annoyed about that, if it's in the middle of summer, it's 95 degrees, and you're making me wear my wool concentration cap.
Well,
right.
Somebody could just cast Cone of Cold on you, and you put on your refrigerated hat, and then you'll be fine.
Well, it might be a situation where they were already carrying Mountain Dew and Cheetos and books and dice, and they didn't want to have to carry a hat too. So,
All 17 hats.
So if they have to here's your stealth hat, it's just a hood and it looks like a racist hat, then you have to raise some questions there. So
or it's possible that that the DM only had so many hats and people had to share, and and everybody knew that that lice head Gary would be showing up for that week.
And they'd ask the DM not to let him come back, but the DM said, "No, you're just all jerks."
So again, the mandatory showering rule would come into effect there. Be like, what's this special hat? That's a shower cap. Well, take the fucking hint.
What is this strange object you're handing me? Is this a relic? It's called soap. Just use it.
And for you, the medicated cap.
Yeah. Please take this potion of not fucking stinking.
Don't they call that Axe body spray?
Yeah, no kidding. All right. Would you like to hear? I've got two Am I the Assholes. Which would you rather hear? Am I the asshole for not wanting my husband to play Dungeons and Dragons on Mother's Day? Or am I the asshole for not wanting to hear my husband's play-by-play of his Dungeons and Dragons game?
Because first one I could kind of understand the Mother's Day thing.
Sure. The second one is near and dear to my heart because my wife, she's like, I love you more than anything. But if you tell me another goddamn D&D story, I'm leaving your ass. So, so I get it. All right. Am I the asshole for not wanting to hear my husband give the play-by-play to his Dungeons and Dragons game? My husband loves the game of any kind. It's not so much my thing. But during lockdown periods, I went above and beyond to engage with him in many different gaming activities. We moved to a new community during this time, and due to his restrictions, he made little to no new friends. So when things opened up and I tried all the game nights and wished for more activities either on my own or with him, they were moving more interesting. This is really badly written. Sorry. All right. So long story short, he found a D&D group. I was thrilled for him and for me. We had networked, found a group for people for him to start a campaign with. I thought this was a major win by creating some healthy solo time for each of us and for him to be enjoying something with several other people. I'm going to add in here that I also have a bit of a touchy spot with his gaming needs outside of playing with him. He has routinely and often withdrawn from me and shared responsibilities. All right, she's just complaining because anyway. One thing I have a hard time with is when he vocally expressed to me that he comes home from playing a game and I don't want to spend an hour with him listening to him tell me what his character cast, what spell they did, what activity they did, what silly adventure they went on. It's almost like he just likes to hear himself talk about it because he knows I don't have the slightest idea what an elf is and what their powers are and what they would or wouldn't act like. It's confusing at best when he tries to converse with me at that level. She goes on to complain a little bit more about it, but it's just it's a regurgitation of the same thing. But he is getting a little twisted with me for not taking interest in his interest. Is she the asshole?
Yes.
Sounds like she could have shortened that to my stupid nerd boyfriend won't shut up about his stupid nerd hobby.
You know something? I do understand that. You know, the things I'm into, my wife is into, and the things she's into, I have zero interest in. And as a result, you compromise. You reach that point where, yes, we're going to listen to a bit of each other's stuff, but there is that limit. Like if she starts talking to me about music notation, there is that limit where I'm just going to be like, I have no fucking idea what you're talking about, you know, and no real interest in it. And same way, if I decide to go off on like an hour-long tangent about Transformers for some reason, I fully expect to get the eye roll of, can you please leave the room before I murder you?
And you're right. I think there is kind of a limit to how much. But honestly, if your significant other is genuinely excited about something, fucking go with it.
Yeah.
Just go with it for a little bit, you know?
But there's a limit.
I know there's a limit, but if the person you love is genuinely excited about something, give them some fucking space. Don't make them feel stupid.
She sounds to me like all the girlfriends that I met in years past who would show up to our D&D games because they found out that their boyfriend played and that there were women in the group. And so girlfriends like, I'm not going to let you be around other women. And so they would show up and lay all over the boyfriend and complain the entire time that they were ready to go. This is so boring.
Yeah.
Can we leave now? And, you know, it's like, I could never be in a romantic relationship with somebody that didn't share at least some of my interests. But I agree with Rick too. This is a relationship thing. You're going to want to be kind to each other and listen at least some. And so, yeah, she just I think she's the asshole.
I think there's a difference between hearing about it and doing it. I don't think you have to do everything that you sometimes it's good that you don't have shared hobbies. That's a little bit of absence makes the heart grow fonder. But
Sure.
Somebody comes through the door and they're buzzing about something, you know, give them half an hour at least. You know?
Yeah.
It's one of those situations.
I don't know what an elf is. Of course you do.
Fuck you. Everyone knows what
Everything
elf is.
fuck you.
Right?
It's like Keebler, bitch. But the point is, like, they've been making your cookies for the last 70 years.
Yeah.
But with my wife and I, like, I'm an only child. She's an only child. Our child is an only child. We all go to separate corners of our house and then we join up for food, then we disappear again. And like, we're all like cats and we're cool like that. But when someone's excited about something, like my son, over the last like 5 to 6 years now, he's gotten into anime. Great. He likes anime a lot. And some of it I watch with him, some I don't. But some of it he really wants to talk to me about. And he'll talk at me at length with no stop or breath. And I had to put a limit on it because, like, I know you like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but the more I hear this, the more it sounds like a fever dream and it's not my kind of thing. So I give him this is your limit of time, but I will listen to you for this period of time because you don't know how to tell a story yet, son.
Yeah.
And so he's just recounting episodes.
My oldest has her own place, and I will still get like tweet storm or like text message storms about, like, you know, oh hey, this like this car that you don't give a shit about is like, oh, it's gonna have like 800 horsepower and this and this and this and yes, there is that indulgence of I'll listen to a certain point, but there will come a point where I will just say, I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, and also you might just be cutting off your nose to spite your face. I remember my daughter got into musical theatre and I hadn't looked at a musical for a long time. No one was forcing me to look at musicals, so I didn't look at musicals. But she loved it, so I gave her the time of day on it. And then we were watching, I think it was Little Shop of Horrors. And I realized I knew every fucking word. And Annie, I knew every fucking word. I thought,
Oh, God.
yeah, I used to really enjoy these. And I just haven't for a while. So I just got back into musicals. And, you know, it was a passion I could share and communicate with somebody I loved. So that was, I'm not saying that's going to work out for everything. She could have been into, I don't know, Ghostbusters 2016, and then I would have had to kick her out the house. But, when
it comes to this particular story, my wife, love her. She's the anti-nerd. She is a non-nerd human being, and she does not. And she unfortunately has what I like to call D&D trauma. Her boyfriend back in high school was a buddy of mine because my wife and I went to high school together. We knew each other back then. We didn't date till later in life, but her boyfriend subjected her to the D&D cult that he was part of. She didn't have to play, but she had to hear all the stories. And she'll say, no. But I remember when we were dating and she was like, oh God, so-and-so would tell me this story. Doesn't matter. I try to keep it out of her, but when I come home a little bit excited, she's like, it's not real, right? I'm like, I know it's not real, but the game that I play with my friends and these moments that we were having, these experiences we were having was a very real shared experience around the table. And I'm trying to share some of that elation. But if you, so help me God, if you come at me and tell me about one of your friends who's being a bitch again, and she's telling this story and like, that has nothing impacting my life whatsoever, I'm just going to tune you out. So just keep that in mind, and she's like, like, neither is the show we watch together. What we do in the shadows is not real, but we had fun watching it. Okay. So suck it. That's the answer right there. So you listen to every goddamn word I have to say, or I'm taking half your shit. That's it. Steve, do you have a last one to finish this out?
None of them are particularly interesting. I have learned that, some of the stereotypes around D&D people are true because there's a lot of very uninteresting people out there. So that gives a little bit context to the issue we just had, I suppose. This one is kind of about mechanics.
Okay.
And again, it goes on far too long for something that's not that interesting. I feel like we're going to end on an anti-crescendo.
I've got another one more short one if you want. And it's about D&D slavery and why the players.
Why are you keeping that from us? Yeah, let's get into the weeds with slavery.
Okay. So this is a person complaining about their dungeon master. So the title is he couldn't.
He owed slaves.
He couldn't feel bad about slavery because of lore. So I had a problem for a while with the fighter in my D&D campaign. I pitched the campaign to the group as the party facing an empire that built itself on the destruction of the native hobgoblin population. I made it very clear they'd be helping hobgoblins. A couple sessions in, the fighter starts complaining that it wouldn't make sense for the party to help the hobgoblins, as in D&D lore, they're, quote, warmongers and slavers. I'm sure you can understand I was quite peeved with this. I reminded the fighter that I pitched this idea months in advance. I also expressed that even if these hobgoblins were warmongers, it doesn't make it okay to have genocide put upon them and to enslave them. We argued about this for quite a while. The other players started backing me. Eventually, the fighter begrudgingly stopped, not before calling the bard a bleeding heart and wanting to stop slavery. At this time, he's no longer in the campaign. So,
interesting one. I mean, it's kind of like, when you think about it, we kind of have sort of an idea of slavery, like the last great actions we took against a horrible horror from history. And that's kind of where we live with it. But if you're talking about like, oh, this is set in medieval Europe, it's just like, there's a lot of fucking slavery. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, you're probably not going to be a knight either. You're probably going to be a literate peasant who dies of middle age from fucking toothache or something. It's like, so there are compromises. It doesn't have to be accurate, but there has to be a little bit of verisimilitude. And it sounded like the DM, I guess, was going for a very specific thing that perhaps ignored those aspects of
the way I was reading it was like, he told the campaign, you're going to be helping the hobgoblins who are being oppressed, but the players couldn't get past the prejudice of like, kind of like, but hobgoblins are slavers, so I don't want to help the slavers.
Hobgoblins, wouldn't be oppressed. And that brings up another, I guess, mistake we make. I think it's because it was couched in the language of Tolkien when race means something completely different.
Yeah.
Or as a much broader category. People get really antsy about certain monster groups having innate characteristics. It's like, when we say race, it's not like what we talk about today. It's more like Neanderthals and humans living side by side. Very different, except more extreme than that. But people still get antsy about it, and we kind of put a modern spin on it because we don't want to be in a situation where, I guess, it becomes uncomfortable. So I kind of get where this is coming from, but from the DM's perspective, but I guess if the rule book says that actually these are a horrible monster race and all they do is slave and oppress, I don't know.
It seems like, because when I reread this, I feel like there's two stories going on that they didn't quite express correctly. One, that the party is helping the hobgoblins who are actually being attacked by an external force. They're trying to actually help those who would seem help the villains in this type of case. But then in his next line, even if the hobgoblins were warmongers, it doesn't make okay to genocide and enslave them. So it sounds like the fighter of the party wants to like kill the hobgoblins or enslave the slavers. So it's like, like I will turn the slavers into my slaves. So it feels really fucked on multiple levels.
More slavery is never a great thing,
right?
I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this kind of sounds like the finale of Salty Bastards.
Actually, it wasn't even the finale. It was literally like the third episode. Yeah. Rick probably had loads of really cool things for us to do in Salty Bastards, but we had a paladin and a robot whose morality was binary. And it was like, and there are some slaves on the ship, and rather than kind of like us, how can we subtly work around that towards the good? They were just like, okay, so I immediately set everything on fire. And that set the entire tone for the rest of the game. There was no fucking missions after that. Just massively, aggressively reacting to everything. Because we were like, yeah, these people are slavers, so I guess everyone dies, and that's how we're playing things. Which was, to be fair, true to the characters they were playing. And I guess, again, what's the DM trying to do? Are these a bunch of evil characters who believe the only way to defeat the warmongering slavers is by becoming that which they detest? Is there supposed to be a dark message here? I don't know.
I'm a firm believer that as the DM, you set up the game world, you point them in a direction, but if they go east, you don't force them north. So I guess it was a case of if this fighter was being disruptive at the table, that's an issue. If the fighter was basically just being like, why don't we side with these people instead of these people? Well, as the DM, narratively, sometimes you gotta work that.
Well, and that's a very excellent point, Rick. Because if the DM has like, I have this concept of these noble heroes taking on the industry and actually we're gonna help these people who've been victimized as being evil for a very long time, and they people are like, no, we're gonna fuck them up. And like, we're gonna take all your plans, all your crafting, all those NPCs, throw them out the window. We're jumping on this side. No, we're gonna help. We're gonna do the debt. We're gonna demolish all. There will not be a hobgoblin left by the time we're done. Do you understand me? And like the DM's got to either pull the plug or roll with it.
Yeah. I think that would be also, you got to remember that that just because the book says it's so, doesn't mean that you have to follow that rule. People think that these are hard and fast concrete rules that you cannot break from, but it's D&D. You're supposed to make it your own. So, I mean, Gygax said that in the beginning. So, you don't have to. They don't have to.
Fuck Gygax. Die, hobgoblin, die. I think it'd be really funny if they're like, hey man, just because the book says they're murderous, warmongering slavers, we shouldn't sink down to those levels. Let's help them rise up. And then it just cuts forward to the last session. Okay, so you guys are enslaved by the hobgoblins.
100%.
And one side-eyed fight, I fucking told you, nerds. I fucking told you in the beginning. You just listen to me.
Here's the thing: there are just because one group is evil doesn't preclude the other group from being evil.
It's a good thing I learned Misty Step. I'm out of here. Ha ha, suckers.
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes it's good to just. Again, people get a little bit too sensitive about kind of real world situations. Like, I want an orc to be an orc. And the reason I want an orc to be an orc is I don't really want to have a huge moral conundrum about stabbing someone. I've got that in real life. I don't need that in the fantasy realm.
True.
Well, it's like, the thing is, it's hard for us to envision, different sentient species.
Mm.
We think of them in terms of
because, Rick, to be fair, we wiped them all out.
Exactly. But that's the thing. That's the one thing. I try to play Moog along the lines of he doesn't see this moral conundrum of hating elves. He was raised that elves are the devil. So
yeah, it'd be like, I suppose fantasy would be more like if you were kind of modern human, you came across a tribe of Neanderthals and went, hey, they're just like me. And it's like, well, no, they're not. They're 3 times stronger and they'll probably eat you.
Yeah.
So,
it's a good example. I guess the natives of Sentinel Island, the Sentinelese, who every time the modern world has tried to make contact with them, they just kill the fuck out of whoever shows up on their island.
Yep.
Wise. They know that taxes are around the corner.
Yeah, probably.
Or just be like Captain Kirk. When you meet a sentient species, how do I fuck it? And that's really the...
That's the utopia we all want to live in. But no, I don't. It sounds like he had... To be honest, it sounds like the guy who's saying, but hobgoblins are this, is the asshole. Not because hobgoblins aren't that's fair, but because the DM has clearly got a story they want to tell and for everyone to be a part of, and you're already fucking derailing it.
Yeah, it's kind of like if the DM says you can be any alignment you want, and then later they don't like you being evil, that's on the DM. If the DM tells everybody up front, this is going to be a good campaign, no evil characters, you don't slide in an evil character, because at that point you're being the dick.
Yeah. And it's also, you have to get over your preconceptions, because like, as much as I grew up reading all the Forgotten Realms so much that I don't want to read any more Forgotten Realms. But that being said, we like the Drow race is always, they worship a Spider Queen. They're all evil. Fantastic. Except for the Dritz origin that everybody's like, oh my God, Dritz is the best. Well, if it wasn't for that one thing breaking away, you wouldn't have this great character. So sometimes you have to break the mold in order to write something good.
Yeah.
Right.
I still hate Dritz.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're trying to tell a story. You're trying to tell it with familiar components, which makes the storytelling. That's why I don't like the too much. It's like, oh, it can be anything. It's like, I think they're trying to get to the stage where it's like, hey, there's no reason that like a halfling wouldn't be as strong as a half-orc. It's like, yes, there is. Look at him. Barely lift my spirits, that furry little fuck. You know, so
get a halfling with a 21 strength.
Again, we're not dealing with like, you know, with different races of human. We're dealing with different species.
Species. That's why they changed it in the new rule book, and they're all called species now. They got rid of race.
That makes sense to me.
I mean, it's like saying, as a human, oh, I should be able to hold my breath as long as a lizard man. No, he's half fucking crocodile. You can't.
Yeah.
Right.
You kind of like, you keep those sort of recognizable pieces so you can build. So they're building blocks to build a story. And if you start fucking them with too much, they're not building blocks. They're just bolts. And it's just a big pit of bolts. You know who wants to be in a ball pit? Fucking halfling. That's it.
And that's how you get MRSA. So, but we've also hit an hour and 15 recording time. So is there anything else anybody wants to add to the end of this this second edition of Am I the Asshole Dungeons and Dragons?
I think we solved slavery. I think we're all right.
Yeah. And I mean, let's be honest. I mean, if you play D&D at some point, you probably are the asshole. You know, it's just the nature of the beast.
Are you the interesting asshole who's moving the story forward?
Yeah. Or do you kick the asshole off the mountain? And that's what it all boils down to. So I'm sorry, Rick. You know what? I'm not even sorry.
I'm pretty sure most of them weren't either.
Yeah, clearly we're not. Your friends betrayed you, my friend. But hey, everyone needs a Gollum story, and that's how you got it. So that is Gollum's origin right there.
That is true.
Until still telling the story to this day. That's how legends are made. You were just on the wrong side of it.
All right, who wants to sign us out of here?
I think we did. We just said everything interesting that you need to hear. Go to our Patreon, give us money. Or don't. Ignore that if you like. Just carry on listening for free, you shirking halfling. And we'll see you next time on Authors and Dragons.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Authors and Dragons is brought to you under a Creative Commons license, meaning you are free to share this material so long as credit is given to those who created it, which is us, the people you just heard play the game. Opening and closing themes performed by the Gore Core 4.
Authors and Dragons!